Hi, this is Jess, the Traveling Mystic, and I wanted to share a story that really changed the game for me. And it's about my mother. So, my mother was very young when she had me, and I was the firstborn, and she was really hard on me. We had a very challenging relationship, and I struggled a lot with that growing up and into adulthood. And when I was 23, she found out that she had cancer, and she passed away the following year. So I was 24, and I have younger siblings at the time, still do. And I wasn't able to talk to her about how painful my childhood was growing up, and what a challenge it was, and how could I, in that time when a parent or someone you love is in so much pain, the absolute last thing I could ever want to do is bring more pain to my mother. But she's always with me, always. And I love that. I know she's with me. She leaves me hearts. I have lots of photos of hearts. I'm certainly happy to share if anyone's interested. And I know she's always there. And so last January 2017, on the day of her passing, I was speaking to a woman who ended up becoming my spiritual coach, and shared about my challenge. And I could feel my mother. When my mother comes, I get this huge wave of emotion, of just overwhelm, because she's there with me, and I'm feeling it right now. So she must be here. Hi, Mom. And I was sharing about the challenge that I'd had in my relationship. And Judith Onley, she said to me, something that I had a similar experience with my mother growing up. And something that helped me was to say that my mother did the best that she could. And if she could have done it differently, she would have. And I had such a hard time with that. I had struggled with that for years, trying to acknowledge that and accept that, and I just couldn't do it. I'm like, no, there's no way. She could have done better. Could have done better. I know it, but she didn't give her best. There's no way. But she said it brought her peace, and that maybe it would bring me peace as well. So that night, I was speaking to my mother, and I said, Mom, I know you did the best that you could, and if you could have done it differently, you would have. And I left it at that. And I went to bed, and then in the middle of the night, I woke up, and it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, so I guess not the middle of the night, but I woke up, and I just had this desire to write, and I grabbed this journal, and in the complete darkness, I just started writing and writing, and I wrote pages and pages and pages. I could have written all day, and there was all this information that came through this. It's like when I said that, when I acknowledged that my mother did the best that she could, it dislodged something in me, and suddenly all of this information came through. Totally different perspectives of things that had happened in my life that I would never ever have considered, I would never have even thought of, came flooding through. Things about how my little brother passed away, things about growing up, things about moving forward, all these different things. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I could have written all day. I could have. I know I could have. I was so in that juicy zone. And I finished, and I went downstairs and told my roommate, I was like, I think I'm going to be done with my career at the end of this month. No idea why I would think that. I had been in my industry for 12 years and loved it, and had many people who loved me and respected me. I had worked so hard, and it was a really beautiful experience. I love the company I worked for, like all of that stuff, everything. But something was deeper in me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust that something is coming, and that I'll be done with my career at the end of the month. And I kept writing, and every day I woke up and I wrote, and more things would come in and channel, and I hope to publish a book. And over the course of that last year of 2017, I wrote enough for 3 full-size full length, whatever, books. Like so much writing. So awesome. So, so awesome. I was so connected. And a week later, one of my dear girlfriends, who I do a YouTube channel called The Sexy Mystics with, Jen Edwards, she was visiting in Seattle where I was for her work. And I went to have dinner with her, and she was telling me about her job and what she did. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And she's like, well, if you want, you can give me your resume. I can pass it along. And then she said, actually, the hiring manager is here this weekend at my event. So if you'd like to meet him, I can ask him. And I said, yeah. And so the next day I was there and chatted with him throughout the day. And at the end of it, he's like, well, I think you'd be really great. And if you want to come out to an event and try out and see if you like it or not, then, let's do that. And I was like, well, do you want my resume or anything like that? And he said, no, you're asking great questions and Jen vouches for you. So, I think the only way to know is to try it out. And so I left and I was like, did I just get offered a job? And it was in an industry that I knew nothing about, that I had no experience with. It was going to be a commission-only position. It was event-based. It was a totally departure from where I had been. And I left and I did it. I took the opportunity. I gave my notice. I said goodbye. And then I went on an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. And that is a whole other story too. But there's something so beautiful about that. Our parents, they're human, right? They're human. They did the best they could. And even in moments when we didn't think they did, they did, and they tried. And I see my girlfriends and friends that have kids now, and they're amazing. They're awesome. Gosh, they give so much. And I have so much hope and joy and love for how they show up. There's so many more resources now, so many new parenting techniques, so many alternative ways of loving and raising and creating these beacons of light for our world that we so desperately need. So if you have an opportunity, if you can take it on and really just acknowledge that your parents did the best they could, and if they could have done it differently, they would have. That would be great. And what I ended up taking on a year later was that I've done the best I could. And if I could have done it differently, I would have. And every day I think about that I've done the best that I could. It's a pretty beautiful place to be in. So anyways, wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much. I love you, Mom.